This time we'll do it right. You said that the last project too, and the one before that. Then deadlines hit. The sprint got cut in half. Someone needed it yesterday. And that temporary workaround that you swore was just for the demo, it shipped to production. And here you are, 2 years later, maintaining code that you promised yourself you'd never write. Does that sound familiar? Let me tell you why doing it right this time is a lie you keep telling yourself and what actually works instead. You see, there's this pattern of self-deception. Every new project starts the same way. You've got a blank slate, a fresh repo, no legacy baggage. And this time you think, we're going to build it clean. You pull out the whiteboard, you draw the boxes, you separate the concerns. Here's our domain layer. Here's our application layer. Clean architecture, solid principles. We're going to write tests first this time. The team nods. Everyone's on board. The energy's high. Week one goes great. The folder structure is pristine. The abstractions that you've created are elegant. You're actually enjoying code for the first time in a while. Week 7 happens, and someone needs a quick feature. There's a meeting, a demo, and someone says the magic words, can we just, for now, let's put the business logic in the controller. Just for now, let's skip the unit test, we'll add them later. Just for now, let's hard code this because the config system isn't quite ready yet. And you say yes, because it's just one thing, just this once, just for now. Month 4, the just for nows are stacking up. You've got a list somewhere, maybe in a README, maybe in your head, of all the things that you're going to go back and fix. Month 8 comes around and nobody remembers where the list is. The shortcuts are the architecture now. And in the stand-up, someone says, what you're all thinking. How do we get here again? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Willpower does not scale. You can white knuckle your way through clean code for a week, maybe a month, but under sustained pressure with real deadlines and real stakeholders and real consequences, the path of least resistance wins every time. This is why knowledge isn't enough. And here's what kills me about this. Senior developers know the patterns. You've read clean code, you've read domain-driven design, you've probably taught this stuff to juniors on your team. You know what good architecture looks like. You can draw it on a whiteboard. You can explain why coupling is bad, why cohesion is good. You've given the talk. And yet, here you are, same spaghetti, different repo. Why? Because knowledge isn't the problem. Friction is the problem. Every right decision has a cost. Time, cognitive load, political capital. Explaining to stakeholders why this feature should be simple is taking 3 sprints instead of 1. When you're under pressure, real pressure, with your job or your team's credibility on the line, then you don't have the infinite willpower to spend on architectural decisions. Every choice costs something. And when the cost of doing it right is another difficult conversation with product management, and the cost of doing it quick is nothing, right now in this moment, then the quick path wins. There's a quote I come back to a lot. You don't rise to the level of your intentions, you fall to the level of your systems. It's not a judgment, it's just physics. It's human physics. You're not going to out-discipline your environment. You're not going to out-willpower your deadline pressure. You're not going to maintain perfect architectural standards through sheer force of character when everything around you is pushing towards shortcuts. So I'm suggesting that you stop trying, because the real solution is to actually make it easy. And here's the insight that changed how I build software. If good architecture requires discipline, you're going to lose. But if good architecture is the default, if it's actually easier to do it correctly than to do it incorrectly, then you win. Let me show you what I mean with some concrete examples. Take authentication. Every .NET app needs auth. Login, registration, password reset, two-factor, email confirmation, you know the drill. Most templates give you scaffolded auth, right? So we have the identity with some scaffolders to say, here's some files, good luck, you need to customize a lot of this. And by the way, half the stuff doesn't quite work the way you need it to out of the box. So what happens? Well, deadline pressure hits, and suddenly you're cutting corners on auth. We'll do 2FA later. And email confirmation can wait. Let's just for now skip the account lockout logic. And the alternative is actually auth that's done. It's not scaffolded, it's actually completed. Every flow works. Every edge case is handled out of the box. Now, there's no decision to make. There's no temptation to cut corners. The right thing and the easy thing are the same thing because auth is already done. Another example is data access. Any framework is seductive. It's easy to get started. You include everything and call it a day. And then 6 months later, you're debugging an M+1 query in production at 2 a.m. and you realize all those convenient abstractions hid problems until they became emergencies. But the alternative is Dapper with explicit SQL. So yes, it requires you to write more code up front, but you can see what you're doing. There's no magic, no hidden queries, no just .include it for now. Instead, you spend time on tooling to automatically template the code, and then you're off to the races. Unfortunately, these days, AI can generate that code so the templates aren't needed. Though for now, templates are definitely faster. The point is that the explicit path is the easy path because there's no hidden complexity waiting to explode on you. Another concrete example is around testing. The conventional wisdom is you mock everything, unit test in isolation, fast feedback loops. But here's what actually happens on real teams. Writing all those mocks is tedious. Maintaining them is worse. And when deadlines hit, what gets cut? Well, those tests, because mocking is work, and that work feels optional when you're behind schedule anyway. The alternative can be integration test as the default. You spin up a real database and test the actual behavior. Less mocking code to write, less mocking code to maintain. And if it breaks in production, then you can easily reproduce it with a test and fix it. Because when the right way is actually less work than the wrong way, then people do the right thing. Not because they're disciplined, but because they're rational. The principle here is simple. Remove the decision, remove the failure point. Every architectural choice that requires ongoing discipline is a future failure waiting to happen. Your job is not to be more disciplined. Your job is to design systems where discipline is not required. Okay, so how can you apply this to your team? Well, start by asking, what decisions keep recurring on your team? If you're having the same architectural arguments on every project, should we use the repository pattern or not? Should we use feature folders? Those recurring decisions are failure points. Every time that decision comes up, there's going to be a chance that someone makes the wrong call under pressure. Every time. So stop having the argument. You pick an answer, you codify it, it's the default. And this is where template inheritance actually becomes powerful. In the framework that I built, new projects inherit from a base startup class. That base class wires up all the defaults: dependency injection patterns, middleware pipeline authentication, configuration, logging, the works. Client projects can override what they need to. But the baseline, the 80% that's the same across every project, it's already decided. It's already implemented. It's already tested. And I'm not starting from zero and making 100 architectural decisions under deadline pressure. Instead, you'll be starting from a working app and customizing the 20% that's actually unique to your project. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you're explaining the same architecture decision twice, codify it. Documentation does not work. I've tried. See the wiki page on our repository pattern. Nobody reads it. And even if they do, they still have to implement it, which means they still get it wrong. And this is even worse with AI now because it won't even find that documentation unless you're explicit about where it is. But if the pattern is already implemented in the template, if doing it the right way is literally just using the template, then you've eliminated the failure mode entirely. The goal is this: new project equals production-ready patterns, not production-ready intentions. When someone on your team spins up a new service, they shouldn't be thinking about folder structure or dependency injection or how to set up authentication. That should all be done, decided, implemented. They should be thinking about the actual business problem that they're solving. And that's where the brain power should go. The key here is to stop trusting future you to be more disciplined than past you. Look at your last 3 projects. Look at the shortcuts that you took, the just for nows that became permanent, the tests you were going to add later. That's who you are under pressure. That's who your team is under pressure. And no amount of good intentions at the project kickoff is going to change that. So stop trusting future you. Start building systems that don't require future you to be a hero. Same goes for your team. Stop trusting your team to remember the patterns under deadline pressure. They won't. You likely wouldn't either. Instead, bake the patterns into the starting point. Make the right thing automatic. Make cutting corners actually require more work than doing it properly. When your authentication is already complete, there's nothing to cut. When your real test infrastructure spins up in seconds, then skipping tests doesn't actually save time. When your architecture decisions are pre-made and inherited, there's no opportunity for the wrong call under pressure. Here's the line I want you to remember. The best architecture decision is the one that developers don't have to make. Not the most elegant decision, not the most theoretically pure decision, the one that's already made, the one that's already implemented, the one that's already working. That's the decision that survives contact with real deadlines, real pressure, and real human beings. So here's the deal about "we'll do it right this time" lie. The lie isn't that you don't want to do it right. You do. Genuinely, you do. But the lie is thinking that this time willpower will be enough. That this time you'll maintain discipline through the deadline crunch. That this time the good intentions will survive sprint cuts and demos. And we need it yesterday pressure. They won't. And it's not because you're weak, not because your team's lazy, but it's because that's how humans work under pressure. That's how it always works. So stop fighting human nature. Work with it instead. Build systems that make right choice the default. Make good architecture the path of least resistance. Remove the decisions that fall under pressure. Do that and you'll stop having this conversation with yourself every project. You'll stop promising this time will be different, because this time the system will be different. And that is what actually matters. I'm Chad Carter, helping .NET teams ship production apps faster. You already know what you're doing, so now go and ship it. And hey, if this helped, you know the drill. Plus, you may want to go ahead and share this with a dev that you like. And I'll see you in the next video.